of Famer Chris Carter. That is Nick Wright. It is Wednesday. It is the NFL offseason, and yet we have a lot of NFL season stuff to talk about. It's a great early April day.
A new paradigm in the NFL, it would appear. Trades are going to matter. Trades are going to happen. This was the one part.
I like the culture of the NFL now.
This was the one thing that it felt like the NFL lagged behind baseball and particularly the NBA. The off-season transactions, the hot stove part of it. And now it seems like, well, the most prominent team in the league is at the forefront of it. It's great.
Should we start there? What? Tell me.
Let's start there. You know who can't be traded?
Who can't be traded?
Me.
Okay.
No trade clause in his contract. Absolutely. And I would hold out.
All right, so let's talk about it. I can't be traded, CC.
No,
Patriots.
Called me. I told them.
She's not available.
They was giving me 2 number ones and Brady. I told them Brady ain't going to beat time. I'll still take Jim.
Love you, Chris Carter. Patriots making moves this offseason. They give it, then they take it. That's how trades work. Yesterday, they shipped receiver Brandin Cooks to the LA Rams in exchange for the 23rd overall pick. While the Pats move is interesting, what's really interesting is what's next in New England. They've got those 2 first-round picks, 5 picks in the top 95, plenty of draft ammo to move up or down. Are they rebuilding? Are they moving up to get a quarterback? Are they eyeing LeBron? So many questions that we need to wrap our smart little brains around. Chris Carter, I'll start with you. Let's start with what this means for the New England Patriots.
In the last year, New England, to me, I think it's very interesting that they've kind of changed their model. They've been far more aggressive as far as trades, draft picks, as far as acquiring players. Like they were, the only way I can kind of describe it is if they were in a hurry for the first time in the Belichick era. When I say in a hurry, it started last year when they traded for Brandin Cooks. That was one of the things that I thought, wow, that's not typically a trade that they would make because Brandin Cook, he's in the second to last year of his contract then. Are they going to give him a contract extension, given the numbers of what wide receivers are making? Like, that to me was and then they went after the kid from Carolina, you know, the defensive lineman.
Coney Ely.
Yeah,
they didn't pan out. They traded a draft pick for him. They go out and they sign Stephon Gilmore to a big money deal. They did a lot of things.
Then even during the season, we talked about the Garoppolo thing. Like they got off Garoppolo for a second-round pick.
They get off Dorsett for. They get off Brissett for Dorsett
from Indianapolis. So for me, it's like, wow, why are they rushing? And now to see that they've gotten off of Brandin Cook, well, you would seem to think that he had a successful season. Well, this is what happened. He's in the last year of his contract. And the way New England does business, if you don't agree before that last year comes up, you're going to have problems. That's the reason why it was so problematic with Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler was in the same situation. He was in the last year. They offered him extension. He didn't take it. And now, they couldn't trade him, but he ended up having not the type of ending to a season, and they end up losing him for free. They don't like losing players for free. That's why they got off of Brandin Cook. Now, the Rams are going to have to make a decision last year of his contract. What do we do? Do we sign him to a contract extension, which I believe that they will? But for me, New England, it seems like they're in a rush to win now. And I'm not using that from a negative connotation. They're just in more of a rush than I've ever seen them. And I think that they're trying to take advantage of this Tom Brady window, but they have a lot of other things going on. Last year at this time, I was so confident in New England of what type of team I thought they were going to put on the field. Right now, I'm not saying I just don't know. I don't know who's going to be their left tackle, and they haven't depended on draft picks like this. That, to me, that's what it means. Are they going to depend on all these draft picks to play with Tom Brady at 40? I don't think so. I don't think they're done willing and dealing. They have relied on veteran players. It's a system built for veteran players, and now they have all these draft picks. You know, so what are they going to do with them?
All right, so my initial immediate takeaway when I saw this is we now know they are not trading Rob Gronkowski.
Yes.
You cannot. You already lost Amendola. You've now traded away Brandin Cooks. Julian Edelman's coming off an ACL. You're not trading Rob Gronkowski. My second immediate...
You got him 2 years on the books,
right,
at a good number.
He's not a guy that you need to agree to a contract extension to. You probably feel like after these 2 years of Gronk, he might be done playing football. We have the hammer of the franchise tag, which never been used on him. So Gronk is either going to be retired or a Patriot this year. I'm confident in that. My second reaction was, man, there's no team in sports better at the transaction than the Patriots. Now, they miss on draft picks somewhat often. Really almost in line with league average. Like, they haven't figured out the draft. But what they did with Brandin Cooks was they traded away the 32nd pick for Brandin Cooks, got a year out of him, and then traded him away for the 23rd pick. So they got 1 year of service and moved up 9 spots in the draft. So they're very good at this part of it. And my final thought was Nate Solder. And I know I brought up Nate Solder when we were talking about Gronk, and people, it's not sexy to talk about offensive linemen, but we know they've had Matt Light and Nate Solder at their tackle position for the entirety of the Brady era, for the left tackle position. Barring injury, those have been the two guys. They were in a position where he signed somewhere else in free agency. There is not a free agent available I think they are comfortable signing at this point in the market to be their left tackle. So I think they wanted more draft ammunition. There's a couple of guys I think they're targeting. One of them, I'd be surprised if they're targeting Orlando Brown, but Colton Miller, he's 6'8". He's out of UCLA. Solder, 6'8". Also, Mike McGlinchey, a 6'8" tackle out of Notre Dame. I would imagine the Patriots are saying, we have to leave the first round of this draft with our left tackle. We now have more ammunition to make sure that happens.
I like you looking at it that way, because right now, if you look inside the New England Patriots in their draft board, in the draft room, they have a board in there. I guarantee those two names are way, way up there.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Tom Brady, what they're trying to do, what they do offensively, I mean, they're going to keep the tight end in now and have him block him and help out for the left tackle? Or do they get the best prospect in college football and bring him into the fold?
But let me ask you a question. What do you think Brady's reaction was? Because I bet Brady's reaction last year when they traded for Brandin Cooks was, this is awesome. Like another weapon. But now when he sees Amendola leave, he sees Dion Lewis leave, who he likes out of the backfield, and now he sees Brandin Cooks leave for something he can't touch. They didn't trade him for a player. They traded him for a pick. What do you think Brady's reaction to that is?
Wherever he was, he couldn't have been happy. Because now, as a veteran, now Tom gave us, man, he gave us a little insight into his life in Tom versus time. Now Tom's got to bend over backwards for another wide receiver. Whatever his personality is. Belichick and them, they don't care. They're going to bring in someone. And Tom's got to open himself up to learn this guy, try to bring this guy up to speed compared to, what about some carryover from last year? Now, to me, I don't believe Chris Hogan, who's on their roster, is the answer. So New England, are they going to put another young wide receiver, which they've missed in the draft? Or did they see something in Philip Dorsett, the former first-round pick from the University of Miami, with Indianapolis, who they, in the Jacoby Brissett trade, did they see something in him in a year with him? Because what it tells me is they did not see enough in Brandin Cook in this year to be able to sign him and keep him going forward.
And they did, just real quick, just want to clarify, they did talk to him about an extension, but the money he wanted was not in line with what they wanted to give him.
Don't you think it's interesting that they put so much stock in what Brady thinks to the point where Robert Kraft invited him into a meeting last year and he basically orchestrated the whole getting Jimmy Garoppolo out of there, but he can't get a wide receiver to stay 2 or 3 years that he's comfortable with? Just a thought. Secondly, here's my question to you. So now they get rid of Nate Solder, we talked about, and Amendola, and Dion Lewis, and Malcolm Butler. Which is the most important position that they need to fill now?
Well, right now I think it's left tackle. I don't think there's a...
You got a 40-year-old quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's left tackle, but I also think when you talk about those guys, I think it is worth noting that every single guy we just mentioned, including and add Brandin Cooks to the list, were guys they tried to re-sign, guys they would have liked to bring back, but the price became too steep. And I know, CC, like, there is sometimes, if anyone's ever been to an auction, okay, whoever wins an auction for an item, they almost by definition have overpaid because they have raised their paddle when everyone else says that's too much. So almost by definition, you've overpaid. The Pats refuse. Mangini talks about this. They have a walk-away number, and they walk away. And that has served them very well. It's one of the reasons they don't ever have these bad contracts that are killing their cap.
They do not have one bad contract on their roster.
Well, that's why you said they're so good at transactions.
Right. But there is a downside to that. The downside to that is sometimes you run out of players. Sometimes all of a sudden it's like, man, we'd love to have Danny Amendola back, but not at $6 million a year. We'd love to have Brandin Cooks back, but not at $14 million a year. We'd love to have Nate Solder back, but not at $11 million a year. And then it's like, oh, so we didn't sign any bad contracts, but now there's only bad football players left to sign to good contracts. Like, that is the risk that you run. So we'll see what they do with it.
Is there a team that has done more with less? Is there a team that has gone farther with other people's, if you want to call it trash, that they turn into treasure than the New England Patriots?
No one. No one's done.
So I don't think they're as concerned. All right, coming up.
They got a lot of conversion to be doing.
A lot of conversion.
Yeah.
A lot of trash to treasure conversion.
Yes.
Big Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday coming up. So don't make plans. Sit on your couch. Watch nothing but television, because the question is Tiger showing signs he can win the Masters?